Hello, everyone. Welcome to PopCultX episode 34, our weekly podcast talking about pop culture from a Gen X point of view. My name is Gabriel. Danny's with me, and we talk about everything under the sun that we find interesting. So let's go ahead and get started this week.
Everything under the sun, and sometimes things that are under the proverbial rock, so to speak. So, and I only say that because we were just laughing about this. You guys don't know about this, but Gabe had never even heard of the movie Red Notice because he's been under a rock.
That's how much of a pop culture expert I
am. It's okay. If you guys don't know yet, which you probably should know, because The Rock's social media and Ryan Reynolds' social media are such prolific that they've been touting this movie for months on end now. So it stars. First off, it's a art heist movie. That's what the premise of it is. Basically, it's an art heist movie, and Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, and Gal Gadot are the leads in the movie. And I watched it this past weekend. It was a rock movie. It was good. I mean, I'm a big fan of Dwayne Johnson, not just because we share the same birth date, not the year, but the same day. But I'm also a fan because I like his charisma and his just what he brings to the table, and you know what you're going to get. That being said, This movie, I didn't get that from him, which was, I don't know if it was on purpose, but it just kind of left me wanting more from him because it felt like he was holding back. I know in a lot of his movies, say Jumanji with his character, or even like Hobbs and Shaw, he's very overpowered, I guess, OP, or he's just like, he's just takes on everything and doesn't get hurt, doesn't do anything. But this time it kind of was a little less than that, which I don't know if that was intentional, just to show that he's not always going to be the Black Adam, which is coming up soon, where he's really overpowered. But he's to show he's more vulnerable, and it ended up being a rom-com. So interesting.
Is his love interest Gal Gadot?
I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'll let you watch it.
All right. Well, it'll be a first because I have to be honest. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with The Rock in it. Actually, I take that back. I have The Scorpion King. Because I was a really big fan of the Mummy franchise.
Yeah, that's a good franchise.
And so I watched that. But other than that, I can't even think of movies that star The Rock.
Come on, The Tooth Fairy.
Nope.
What else is there? Both Jumanjis, Welcome to the Jungle and The Next Level, which are fantastic. Nope. I really like those. Red Notice, of course. What else is there? He did the voice in Moana. Did you see Moana?
I have it.
Wow. San Andreas.
Nope.
No? Okay. Jungle Cruise. That just got released for widespread viewing on Disney Plus. Did you see that one?
Nope.
Okay.
It's weird. I don't know why I've just never, or I've stayed clear of every movie he's ever made. And I like him as a person. Like, I think he's really charismatic. Like you said, I think he's funny. I like his personal philosophy in life. I think he's like a really positive guy. Yeah. But yet I've yet to watch a movie from him.
Skyscraper?
So I don't know.
Rampage. I'm just going to name all his movies here. Baywatch. That was actually funny. Baywatch is pretty good. I'm not sure if you've seen that one. Obviously, you haven't seen it.
I didn't watch it.
Let's see. Central Intelligence with him and Kevin Hart.
Nope.
How about any of the Fast and Furious movies where he's been in that?
Nope.
Okay.
I've never been seeing a Fast and Furious movie.
You're not missing much. Vin Diesel's in it, so yeah. What else is there? Hercules. No.
Wait, did Hercules?
Yeah.
I can't even think.
He made a version of Hercules. He was in Get Smart with Steve Carell.
Nope.
Okay.
I have like an aversion to his films. It's so odd.
It is odd. It's strange, but hey, that's okay.
Like I don't dislike him. I actually really like him as a person. Like, yet I've never seen one. I think maybe because they're like, more family movies or
Some
more
are.
on like the sillier side? I
They're
don't
more
know.
action orientated. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to watch this new one because I do love Gal Gadot. I like Ryan Reynolds sometimes. Sometimes he's a little too smart for his own good, or like
He's a little too
smart ass
Ryan
for his own
Reynolds
good.
for Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, yeah. And so I will definitely check this one out.
Yeah, go see it. I mean,
So, yeah.
it's enjoyable. It's on Netflix, so if you already pay for Netflix, you get to watch it for free. So it's pretty cool. I mean, there's another movie coming out. I think next Friday on Netflix is the Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut of Tick Tick Boom with Andrew Garfield. That looks really good. I'm looking forward to that.
That's
one.
the life of the
Jonathan Larson,
creator of Rent, right?
Exactly. It's before he created Rent, he did this one, or so I don't know if it's his life or if it's a story that he wrote before Rent. I'll have to read up about that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to. I wasn't the biggest fan of Rent just from what I perceived it to be about. I just thought that it was going to be really depressing and not. I think I even like we may have tried to go see it, and I think I might have talked everyone out of going to see it because I was like, "Oh, it's really depressing." I don't know if you remember that, like 15 years ago. And just because of that, I thought that it was going to be very depressing. And there are aspects of it that are really sad and kind of heart wrenching. But the overall theme of it is like overcoming adversity and love and all of that. So I am interested to see that movie. I am a fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda and all the stuff that he's done. So that should be a good one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And he's been in the news recently too. I guess there was some article in Variety about him saying about cancel culture and how basically he thinks it's just opinions that he should, and he respects those other people's opinions and he learns from them. And there was a whole big, I guess, controversy over the title of the headline for the article because it looked more like it was just clickbait. He's all against it. He doesn't believe in it, but that's not what he said at all. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, has there been anyone that's actually been forever canceled? I don't think there's an example of that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, even Mel Gibson's coming back.
Yeah. Oh my God. So maybe we'll link post a link to Mel Gibson, what he looks like now, because I think they just announced that he's going to be directing Lethal Weapon 5.
Something like that, yeah.
And he's only 65, and I swear to God, he looks like he's 98. He has not aged well.
I'll put a picture right here so people can see.
Yeah. Like, I was really shocked. I mean, he's known for being a handsome guy, I guess, in his heyday, right? Like, but he has, like he just, oh my God, like he has let himself go. And I don't know if that's for alcoholism or drugs or what happened to him, but yeah, he's not been preserved well at all. It's kind of crazy to see him. Just out of curiosity, I started Googling like actors who are 65 or, people in their 60s. And there's so many good examples of people that look great in Hollywood. And he just looks, I mean, he's taking the Clint Eastwood route, I guess, of aging naturally and very quickly. Because I think it'll be like another year before he goes on full on Clint Eastwood, or it's like a walking crypt keeper.
Hey, you might get what you want. He'll be the new lead in Tales from the Crypt.
That might be good. Yeah.
Oh man. So what else have you been up to this week?
So speaking of kind of Latino icons like Lin-Manuel Miranda, I happened to go to the local comic book shop, and upon your recommendation or reminder, I picked up PhenomX from Image Comics, which is the new comic by John Leguizamo. Yeah, I got the variant cover. Yeah. So this one is drawn by Todd McFarlane.
That's the one I wanted. Damn it.
I'll pick up another one because I go every Wednesday is New Comic Book Day for those that are not nerds, and so I'll be back in the comic book store tomorrow. which remind me to get back to because there's a big event that's happening tomorrow. But I haven't gotten a chance to actually read the comic yet because I just bought it last week. But it is another creation from a Latino point of view, and the superhero is Latinx.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to kind of see what they did with it. The art from the cover looks amazing because it's Todd McFarlane, but I'm really excited to see what John Leguizamo has up his sleeve to kind of bring to the comic book world. He is a really unique writer and has a unique perspective that I've been a fan of for years. I actually met him a few years ago when he was workshopping a play in La Jolla,
right on.
and he's a really cool guy. So I can't wait to actually open up the bag and read the comic and share with our viewers.
You
if
should
it's
do
any
like
good.
what are the unboxing videos that people do? We just have like a camera on you taking it out and looking through each page and then capturing your
with like tweezers
and capturing your expression as you read it. Live stream the reading, you reading it.
Yeah. That's an option.
Tune in next Wednesday when Gabe live streams a reading of PhenomX.
Yeah. Yeah. So getting back to tomorrow, which is New Comic Book Day, which is also our release day for our podcast. Tomorrow, Superman, Son of Kal-El #5 comes out, which I think I've brought up on our podcast before, but this is where the son of Superman actually comes out as bisexual and expresses his love interest for a guy, which is kind of unheard of with a superhero of that stature and of that magnitude. So it's not actually Superman, it's his son. It's Lois Lane and Superman. Yeah. His son. And of course, there's been a lot of pushback from a segment of the community that are comic book fans, nerds, and but there's also been a really huge outpouring of support. But tomorrow it finally comes out. There's like a couple variants. So I will be at the comic book store at opening to try to snag a copy. I have a feeling that this is going to be one that's going to be hard to find.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So if you see it, grab a copy because it probably will be worth a nice penny in the future. Because it's not only is it a controversial issue, but it's kind of historic in the making. A iconic superhero, coming out in the comic books and representing a segment of the community that's so underrepresented in comics. So that's where I'll be tomorrow at I think 11 o'clock at the local comic book store.
So if you're looking for Gabe, you know where to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right on.
Trying to get those copies. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see it and to actually read the issue and see how the creators of the comic handle that issue.
Cool. Very cool. You mentioned inclusivity and representation. Did you see that article or the news about Sesame Street?
I did. Yeah. I saw that.
That was really cool. So for those who don't know, Sesame Street, I guess it's on HBO now. I didn't know that. But they're releasing, I guess after 57 years, they're finally introducing an Asian American Muppet, which is, I guess, it's really exciting. I mean, she's a 7-year-old Korean, I think, and her name is Ji Young. I think I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I saw that and it just really, I wouldn't say it doesn't speak to me, but it just meant something to me in that there's a whole segment of children who watch that now, like you did when you were growing up, who will finally get to see themselves on the screen. So that was really something. It's going to be a special, I guess, on HBO called See Us Coming Together, a Sesame Street special. It's going to be with Simu Lee, Padma Lakshmi, and Naomi Osaka. I get Osaka?
Yes.
I guess they're the celebrities who are going to be in that special, and it's going to drop on Thanksgiving Day on HBO Max. So it's nice. Really cool. I mean, I probably won't watch it because I'm not the target audience, but I just think it's really cool, and it's that they're branching out that way. And although it did take 52 years, why did it take so long? But the fact that it's happening, I think, is very monumental.
Well, so my first thought is obviously, yay, congratulations. Like, I think it's great that they're going to add an Asian character to Sesame Street. But I didn't know that Muppets had race or ethnicity.
That's true.
Because if you look at Sesame Street, aren't they either monsters or animals.
Mm-hmm.
So Oscar the Grouch is a
Mm-hmm.
monster. Grover is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Big Bird's obviously a
Bird.
big bird. Snuffleupagus is a something, I don't know, an elephant.
A figment of Big Bird's imagination.
Yeah, and then you have the Count, which is a
Vampire
monster Muppet. Yeah, and I don't know. So Gonzo is a weirdo, something like Miss Piggy, Kermit the Frog. So I honestly I didn't really know that there was representations of race within
That's true.
The Muppet world outside of the human. So I think that it's interesting that they're introducing like a human being into the Muppets. I obviously haven't watched the Muppets for like 40 years, so they could have like all kinds of characters that I'm not aware of. Like, I mean, the most famous I think is Elmo too.
Yeah.
Like, what's Elmo?
Red.
He's red.
Right.
So
or Bert and Ernie.
And I think that was Bert and Ernie. Like they're orange and yellow. So I think that initially that was kind of what was so special about Sesame Street is that the characters, you could relate to them and it wasn't based on ethnicity or race. It was Muppets. It wasn't, you didn't see that. It was, and so, and the racial component was introduced to Sesame Street by the actors that played, like the adults, the Luis Maria Gordon, people,
right.
on the show. And so it's interesting. Like, I don't know if there's other Muppets that are like white or Caucasian and Latino or what. But just on face value alone, like that they're including an Asian character now, I think is really great. I just kind of was surprised because I was like, I didn't know Muppets had a race because they're not human.
Right. They're Muppets. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, but cool. I mean, I'm not going to ever knock down adding, representation for a segment in the community that is lacking. So I think it's cool for the Asian community and the kids that can see that and be introduced to someone who has that Korean culture, because I'm sure they'll share, aspects of the Korean culture with the kids that watch it. So that's really cool.
And speaking of Simu Lee, I finally watched Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings because it's now available on Disney Plus. It happened on Disney Plus Day, which we'll get into in a little bit. But it was fantastic. It was really cool. I especially enjoyed the fight choreography with Shang-Chi's mom, played by, I think, Fala Chen, and then Shang-Chi and his aunt, played by Michelle Yao. They were... Those two ladies, they were very graceful. It was like art. It was like they put the art in martial arts. It was just like a dance. It was so fantastic. The whole movie was great, but I really liked those two fight scenes.
Yeah, I think that the thing that was most surprising to me was how much I liked Awkwafina. Oh, yeah. I didn't go in thinking that she was going to be a standout for me. I know that there's a lot of buzz about her and, scene stealing and being in a lot of movies. And I've never, not that I disliked her, but I was never really like a fan of hers. I never really saw anything.
Just like The Rock.
And so, yeah. And so I went in, not really expecting much and then being like, oh, wow, she is really funny. It was a unique take on like a sidekick character. I really want her to be the love interest for Shang-Chi because I think that would be different for, someone that is not a stereotypical like bombshell to be the superhero's love interest. Not that she's not beautiful. She is, but she definitely is not the sort of airhead damsel in distress kind of character.
Right.
So I think that would be really interesting for them to have that. Not that they need to be a love interest, but I think that there's sort of like that kind of chemistry. I mean, it could be just longtime friends. And the other thing is that I really liked his sister. His sister was like a badass as well. Yes, and I didn't expect to really like, I didn't even know about her, to be honest. And I thought it was interesting. The perspective of, being left behind with, the head of the Rings or whatever the organization was. And And so yeah, there was a lot of surprises when it came to that movie. My expectations were to be entertained, and they surpassed that because they came up with such a unique story, and it was so entertaining.
It surprised me when Ben Kingsley showed up as Trevor, and I was like, "Hey, that's the guy from Iron Man 3." And and he even mentioned that and referred back to it. So I thought it was a nice little, closing the loop on his character. So I thought that was really cool. I like the fight scene with Shang-Chi and his sister that you mentioned. I can't even think of her name. Li Zhang or something like that. I'm probably trouncing the name, but whatever. But Simu Lee, is that how you say his name? The lead actor? Simu.
I can't even.
Well, he shared a video on his Twitter account called it the Simu Lee cut, where basically it's the fight scene between them, but anytime they were doing it, they looped it back to when she kicked him in the groin. So that happens like multiple times over and over again, and it was freaking hilarious. It was just so funny. But just getting back to Awkwafina, she was phenomenal, and I'm not sure if you've seen Nora from Queens on HBO Max yet. It just got released on there recently. It's her show, and where she plays, a coming of age story about her growing up and not growing up, but finding her way as a young adult. She's in like her late 20s or whatever, and it's so funny, and it's just the grandma in that show is just absolutely hilarious. But when I first saw the character in Shang-Chi, I was like, hey, it's just like Nora from Queens, because it's almost the same type of character. So if you want to see more of her, go watch Nora from Queens.
Right. And I think that was initially my hesitation with like really being into her as an actress, is that I kind of feel like she's one of those people that plays herself in every role. And so it's funny that you said that it is kind of like almost like the same character, but it was such a breath of fresh air in Shang-Chi to have a character like that, especially like an Asian American character that is, not stereotypical in almost every way. So that was really cool.
Yeah. And oh goodness, I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something else. Oh, well, wasn't important, I guess.
It's lost forever. Into the black abyss it goes.
Along with everything else that I did today, it's just all gone. All of it.
This 2020. Wait, what year are we even in? 2021.
Let's just go back to 2019. I don't know.
God.
Actually 2021, and I think the thing that scared me about that is like Home Alone is 31 years old today or something like that, or this year.
That's
insane. And it's like we're 31 years departed from 1980, but 1980 is like 31 years from like 1949 or something like that. It's just like, weird math, and it's like, oh man, I feel old now. Yeah. Scary.
I just was watching Macaulay Culkin on America Horror Story. I don't even know what it's called. It's like the most recent one where there's like vampires in the East Coast or whatever. And seeing Macaulay Culkin is like a kind of a grown older. I mean, he's not old, but like, a mature person is so weird to see him in that light, because he's like eternally Kevin,
10 years old or 8 years old, whatever it is.
And so it's interesting. He does a really great job. I saw another movie of his, Party Monster, a few years back, where he played a club kid who kills another club kid, and the acting in that I think is not the best. And so I was a little disappointed, because I thought, he was obviously really charismatic and a really great actor as a kid. And sometimes those kid actors don't turn out to be great actors. Like, it's just they're great for little kids. And so I didn't write him off, but I thought, okay, well, he's just not going to be a great actor as an adult. But the acting that he does in American Horror Story is really good. And I think that now it's kind of brought him back to,
that's good.
Full circle work. He's like in his zone again, and he's doing some great work.
That's cool. Yeah. I remember seeing him in, what was that movie where he played a gentleman in a wheelchair? I can't think of it now. But anyway, So yeah, it's really interesting when you see childhood actors as grown-ups, because I
Mhm.
think it's sometimes it's either hit or miss, so it's like they're either going to be great or it's going to be like, wow, they just turned out very awful. So I don't know.
Yeah. One that the expectations are so high because you have someone like Anna Paquin who won an Academy
Hmm.
Award, and it's like, where does she go
That's
from
true.
there?
That's true.
And
Hmm.
and there's like some of the, she was what, Sookie, what's her name, Sookie something House on True Blood. So that's like an iconic character that she played for a really, a good amount of time. But it's not like there's tons of roles out there. And so then you think, oh well, nothing ever happened to her. Well, it's like, well, she started at the top almost. I mean, you can't get much higher than that. And I think like an exception would be like Jodie Foster, where she was an incredible kid actress, and then she became an even better actor
Hmm.
as an adult. But it's so few and far between that they're able to maintain, that talent.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not cut out for. It's not everyone's not cut out for it, So they
Mhm.
trail off. Sometimes they go do other interests. I mean, as a kid, do they really know that that's what they want to do for their whole life?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's actually kind of the plot somewhat to this American Horror Story show.
oh,
You're not a really big fan, right? You don't really
I've
watch a lot of them.
watched a couple episodes of the Lady Gaga season and
Mhm.
like a few episodes of the very first season.
Okay. Well, so this season, it always kind of has a horror twist, right,
Hmm.
to it, or science fiction. This season is about people that go to Provincetown, and one's a writer and his wife is an interior designer, and they have a kind of like a prodigy child.
Okay.
And the dad finds this pill that when taken by someone really talented, it heightens their
Oh
abilities
wow.
and they become like genius level, like just the passion and the creativity just like emerges, and they're just like insanely, it just heightens
Hmm.
it. But on the flip side of that, if you take it and you're not really that talented, you become sort of like a zombie vampire. And
Okay.
so at a certain point of the show, there are certain characters that are like, do I take the pill? Am I, you have to believe in
Hmm.
yourself that you're really talented, because if you don't, you turn into this monster. And so it's really interesting because it's like I imagine myself if I was in it, it's like, okay, would you take it and make that risk of like having this genius level talent, or having this horrible realization that you're not talented? And there's a portion of it that one of the characters is like, yeah, that like the worst thing is like someone who's mediocre and trying to do something artistic.
Hmm.
It's just so pathetic. And it's like, it's super harsh, but in a way, like I kind of feel like, well, it's true. Like, I mean, there's only, what, 1 in a million people are like truly probably worth more, bigger statistics than that, are
Hmm.
geniuses and can create great art or create something really amazing. And the rest of us are just like trying our best, but like,
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. It's really interesting, and it's kind of like thought provoking and a little depressing because you're like, you wonder like, okay, which one
Where
of
do
those
I
people what
lie?
category do yeah, like where do you lie? And yeah, so it's kind of, it's interesting. But it's an interesting take on the vampire lore, because they're not really vampires in the sense that you get bitten, you
Yeah.
turn into a vampire. You have to like take this pill, and then you turn into this monster who, yes, they do drink blood, and they're vampires in that sense, but not in the traditional sense of like their victims then become vampires as well. They
That
die.
sounds
So
like
it's really
more
interesting.
like a episode of like Black Mirror to me than
Kind
yeah. It
of.
sounds like it would fall in that realm.
Yeah, it's sort of like Twilight Zone-ish,
Hmm.
and kind of like the moral of like, how far would you go to reach your
Full potential.
full potential?
Wasn't that
And
Limitless?
yeah, it's kind of like that,
Hmm.
like Limitless, like, take this pill and your brain will, you know, be on supercharge, and you'll be able to do this and I forgot to mention that the people who are geniuses also have to start drinking blood too.
Okay.
So both become vampires. Both become vampires, but in different ways. Like one becomes kind of cool and, successful, and then the other one's like turn into like the freaky, zombie vampires.
So one becomes cool like Blade
they are.
or something like that.
Yeah, it kind of like, they're all artists, so it's like imagine it. It sort of reminds me of Death Becomes Her, where they take like that youth potion,
yeah.
And it's like, well, be careful because it has these side effects. You have to take care of yourself forever.
Now you tell me.
Now a warning.
Now a warning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and so it's sort of like that, where it's like there's a magic potion, but like, is there ever anything that's like truly,
right?
There's always going to be something that you have to answer to. And it's sort of like that. It hints to like, okay, to have other famous people taking it, is that how they became great?
Okay.
And so it's fun. It's interesting. It's kind of refreshing because some of the American Horror Stories get a little bit repetitive, and it's, they start off really exciting and then they sort of peter off and get boring. But this one's pretty interesting. So this might be one you might want to check out. I think it's on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Or FX. FX on Hulu.
Okay, I can see that.
But it's pretty good.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy, but it's good.
Kind of creepy. Well, with a name like American Horror Story, I wouldn't expect anything less. So I don't know.
Right. Speaking on like shows and things to watch, the big story is Disney Plus announcing their new lineup.
Lineup is an understatement to what they announced.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So let's go ahead and get into it and see, what was the exciting news for you? What was your thing that you're the takeaway for you that you're really excited about?
Well, the first and foremost, I think the biggest takeaway for me was all the Marvel options, I guess you can call it, because there were so many. And it might harken back to what we spoke about before, whereas is it too much? Is it too many?
Yeah.
Are they oversaturating the market? But the one that I'm really interested in seeing the most was Moonknight. That was interesting to me because I just started reading the comic book of that. And it's Moonknight is a what do you call him? He was a mercenary that passed away and then got resurrected by the Egyptian god of night or night travelers or something like that. And is going to be portrayed by Oscar Isaac. And it looks interesting. It looks good. I mean, the small clip they showed, I don't know what they're trying to tell in that clip because I'm not too familiar with the comic, but I guess I read somewhere that he's suffers from schizophrenia or he has a multiple personality disorder. I haven't gotten that far in the comic to know that yet, but it's interesting. The comic book side of it is, so I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I think it's great to see another Latino Latinx person taking up the superhero mantle. The character itself isn't Latino, so it's not per se a Latino superhero, but it's being portrayed by a Latino actor, which is great. I am excited about that. I people describe him as sort of like the Marvel version of Batman, or like the Marvel Batman. So it's kind of gritty in that sense.
Maybe that's why I liked it. I don't know.
You tend to like those anti-heroes. And so I'm excited about that. I definitely am excited to see Oscar Isaac in it. The other show that they announced and kind of showed a second trailer of was She-Hulk. And I'm really excited about that. The actress that's playing the, human form of She-Hulk, her like alias is, I think her name, what is her name? Tatiana. I forget her name.
Oh, you're right. Tatiana.
But she was in,
I just looked it up last night too.
She was in Orphan Black, which was like a Canadian series, which is amazing. Like she played like different characters of varying looks, and so she's like almost a chameleon. So I'm really excited to see what she can do in that role, playing. I think it's Jennifer Walters.
Yeah, Jennifer Walters. You're right. Yeah, Tatiana Maslany, I think.
So she's really cool. She's a great actress. So I always get excited when they get really good actors that can act well to be in superhero movies, because it brings so much depth to the character
Mm-hmm.
instead of it being like, oh, look at special effects, like pretty colors. Like they are wanting to make an interesting story. The aspect of She-Hulk that I find kind of fascinating is that unlike Hulk in the past, where he gets angry and sort of loses his intelligence, She-Hulk keeps her intelligence and is able to function in,
Yeah.
the normal capacity that she has intelligence wise. She's a lawyer, so she's very intelligent to begin with. And the show, I think, has promised to be sort of like a lawyer type show where it's like talks about legal aspects and um, her being a woman and being single. And I think that's interesting. I think it's another interesting female superhero character that they're going to investigate. And She-Hulk as a superhero is really cool because it's a female version of Hulk, and there's a lot of power and strength within that character. And so I'm really excited to see that. But they just gave us the smallest of like hint of what she would look like. I think they showed like her shoulder and her arm. And I'm really excited to see how they're going to, if it's going to be 100% CGI. I think it is.
Be Lou Ferrigno type?
But to see, to see how realistic it looks and how kind of cool they do it. So yeah, I'm excited about that show.
I'm happy Mark Ruffalo is going to be in it. He doesn't get enough screen time, I think. Well, I mean, he did, but he didn't get his own, movie with Mark Ruffalo playing the Hulk, and I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, I really like him on a personal level. I think he's really great. He uses his fame to talk about a lot of political issues that are really important.
Climate issues, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that he was sort of underutilized within the Marvel universe because he's such a great actor, and I think that he brings a lot to the Bruce Banner character. Yeah. And my hopes was that they were going to do a Planet Hulk movie. For those that are into comics, know that that's a story arc that is amazing. Hulk kind of becomes, enraged and too much of a problem for Earth. So, Mr. Fantastic, Richard Reed's at the Fantastic Four, comes up with this plot to like banish him out into the universe, and he lands on this planet that's like a planet of warriors and fighters. They sort of alluded to it with Thor Ragnarok, where he's kind of fighting in like a gladiator style, and that was sort of kind of like it, but I wanted it to be like the full story arc. I think it would have been really cool. But yeah, I think that they underutilized him, so it'd be kind of cool to see Hulk and She-Hulk kind of on the small screen kind of kicking ass together. I think that that'd be really cool to see. Maybe that'll be like the cliffhanger or like the finale episode.
He finally transforms into it. I mean, he had. And I guess a lot of things of the shows and movies that are coming out, you have to figure out where in the timeline they fit. Are they pre-blip, post-blip, or mid-blip? Right? Where do they take place? And it based upon like this one, you saw his arm in a sling. So I'm guessing it's after he did the snap, so his shoulder was hurt. Yeah. So it's just I sometimes find that confusing. But it's also fun trying to place it where in the franchise or timeline they belong.
Yeah, there's a part of me that kind of wishes that they did like little one-off, almost like comics, where there are story arcs that reach into Spider-Man or then Daredevil or whatever. But I think that it would be interesting to kind of have standalone shows that don't relate to the other one, so you could really kind of make one show kind of more of a horror show, and then like one be more of a funny show and more comedic, and one be more science fiction, and they're sort of doing that with I think Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or whatever. It's supposed to be a little bit more horror, science fiction, kind of horror. So hopefully they're kind of bringing that to the table. But I think that it would be kind of interesting to see. There's characters like Ghost Rider that I think would be really cool to see in like a horror franchise. They did announce that they are doing a Werewolf by Night, and Gael Garcia Bernal is going to be playing him. So another Latino actor is getting in on that Marvel Disney action. Nice. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I don't think they announced it.
What was that called? Werewolf by Night?
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of
So
it.
he basically plays a werewolf.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's a really old comic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really old comic. The character is not Latino, but obviously they're going to have a Latino play him, and so I'm really excited about that. Another one that was I forgot my train of thought of what other show they announced. Oh, they announced that they're going to be working on Agatha
Mm-hmm.
Harkness and her own
Mm-hmm.
show.
Spin off of
So I think
WandaVision. Yeah.
that that they saw how popular that character was and were like, okay, we can do that, we can spin that off. And I think and that would be really cool to have like a horror magic witchcraft show that focuses on that character. And I think it would kind of alleviate some of that you know oversaturation of the Marvel universe and kind of give it a little bit more of a break.
Well, something you said really stood out to me. So you said that you want them to be standalones, which they are, and it's great with all the
Mhm.
different series and shows that they're coming up with on Disney Plus. But I think the thing that makes Marvel so great, at least to me, is that they're all
Mhm.
connected and they're all thread together, and that they all belong in the same universe. Where you look at
Yeah.
DC counterpart, and it's all disjointed, right? So there's no one central universe that all the characters exist within. I know they've tried, but they haven't really
Mhm.
gotten to the level yet. But
Yeah.
that's what I really appreciate about Marvel, because if I'm watching a story about Loki season 2, I know that King the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors, is going to somehow have his arc character can show up in what like Echo, the other one they announced. I don't know if that does or not, but they could,
Yeah.
because they all exist in the same universe, and I think that's what makes it so fantastic.
Yeah. I agree. But I think maybe it might come from me being a comic book fan where I do enjoy if I like a particular character, I
Mm-hmm.
like being able to pick up a comic and it just be about that character.
Okay.
So for example, if I'm, really interested in the New Mutants at one point and I want to read a new mutant story, I don't necessarily want, Daredevil swinging in. Especially if I'm not a fan of that
Yeah, I hear
character,
you. I understand.
And so obviously like there's like the smaller universe of like, well, that's in the X-Men
Mm-hmm.
franchise. So like you'll expect other X-Men to pop in, but you don't necessarily think that, okay, at any point during the X-Men, are you expecting, Moonknight to pop up or, Spider-Man to swing in every week, even though they're in the same
Yeah,
universe.
I
It's
hear
like I
you.
kind of like it separated. I think it's like sort of like people that when they eat dinner, like, are you the kind of person that likes to eat your food separately or you like throw
Who
it all
cares? It all gets
together and
together.
like mush it? Yeah. It's like I kind of appreciate my comic book characters separated. Not always. Like it is nice to have like, the Avengers, or sort of the Infinity Saga kind of bring everyone together.
We're like
But
a
like
big
it doesn't
event. Yeah.
necessarily yeah, like it doesn't have to happen on every single. So like if Hulk never showed up in She-Hulk, I'd be okay with that because it's about
Yeah,
She-Hulk.
I see what
Or
you're saying.
if in so yeah,
Well,
so there's
you mean,
that.
but that's been going on for comics for years. I was reading see, you got me started reading comics. So I was reading the Miles Morales, one of his
Yep.
story arcs, and all of a sudden Captain America comes in, and
Mhm.
and he helps save the day, and it was just, and then all of a sudden another one with Deadpool where he's teaming up with is her name Susan Storm, one of the Fantastic Four,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, Invisible Girl,
and then
woman.
they work in together to take down Doctor Doom, but it wasn't really Doctor Doom; it was Tony Stark in Doom armor, because he's like, "Hey, he did it to my armor; I'm doing it to his," or something like that. So it's like they're coming in out of everywhere. So it's like, okay, which is kind of cool, because I remember back in the old Scooby Doo cartoons when they had like guest appearances by like the Globetrotters or Batman and Robin. I always found those
Sonny
fascinating.
and Cher.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that when they came in, the guest appearances were like, yeah, it was so cool for me. So maybe that's why I like and appreciate that. But I see
Yeah.
what you're saying about keeping them separate. That does make it a little
Yeah.
easier, especially if you want to focus on one character.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good either way. I mean, let's not lie. I'm gonna
Right.
watch the shows regardless. So
They also announced an animated Marvel Zombies, which is cool because Marvel Zombies, if you watch the What If series, was just one episode, but now they're going to turn it into the whole series. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, and if you listen to our podcast, we actually interviewed one of the writers
Yes.
of the Marvel Zombies. So that's really cool to see what they'll pull from his work and incorporate into that animated series,
Right.
which is actually really cool. It's like it's a interesting what if kind of horror franchise. It would actually be kind of cool to see it in live
Oh,
action,
yeah.
and instead of like having those actors play them, like have CGI because they're zombies and they're like half dead or falling apart. So it'd be kind of cool just to have them do the zombies animated or CGI and have all the humans or whatever the actual life. So yeah, that's cool.
I think
What else?
the
What other?
biggest non-Marvel announcement, which is not really an announcement because we all knew it was happening, but they showed like the first screenshots of Disney. It's going to be a film. It's the sequel to Hocus Pocus, Hocus Pocus 2. I think that's going to be what you've never seen. I know it's I think it's the biggest name because people, it's such a, I don't wouldn't even call it a cult film because it is mainstream as well. It is, I think, the most anticipated of all the announced ones
Yeah.
with because all three of the Sanderson sisters stars are coming back. Sarah Jessica Parker, Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy. They're all coming reprising their roles. It's set like 29 years in the future. I think even Hannah Waddington from Ted Lasso fame, she's going to be in the movie, and it looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm excited for that.
So wait, it's in current daytime or
Yes.
29 years from today?
29. It's set 29 years from the original 1993 movie, so it would be 2022.
Okay.
So it's
All
set
right.
in the present
So today.
day. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I was like, that's kind of interesting, which is in the future.
That would be interesting, huh?
Which we've never really seen. Like, there's not been a lot of like futurism movies with witches or witchcraft that I can think of off the top of my head. So that's kind of it'd be an interesting idea. I have to watch it. I don't know why it's taken me this long to watch it. I was just talking to my friend Jessie, and she was like, "Yeah, Hocus Pocus." And I'm like, "I guess I should watch the first one." I love all the actresses, so like I don't know why I haven't watched it. I just maybe because I feel like it's a kids movie, and it just never. I don't know. Maybe it's the over the top of like Captain Najimy's mouth and like Bette Midler's over like acting, and it's just like I was kind of like cringy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I understand.
But yeah. So I don't know. I'll have to watch it. I mean, the other news with the actresses, Sarah Jessica Parker is reprising her role as Carrie in Sex and the City. They're doing that relaunch of the franchise minus one of the main actresses. And so I'm kind of interested to see what it is, to see how they do that. I think that what is interesting about that story is that Sarah Jessica Parker has seen a bit of a controversy when it comes to her appearance, because it's like, oh, she's too old to be dressed like that. Like, does she have gray hair now? She's an old lady, which I think is interesting because I never really thought of her as a sexy character in the sense of like showing body. I always thought of it more of like a stylish character that happened to be sexy because of her cool style, in which case that is ageless. Like, you can always be cool and stylish. You see, there's lots of people of older age that are very stylish and very fashionable. So I'm kind of interested to see, I hope that she does have gray hair. I hope that they don't dye her hair, blonde or make her look young or, have a bunch of injections or whatever. I think it'd be really cool to see her representing someone of that age and those characters and where they would be, in life in that time period, and kind of and being married for a while, have kids that are like in their 20s, and because we don't really see a lot of that, especially from a woman's perspective. And so I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that, the first thing that pops into my mind, I think, is it Diane Keaton from like As Good as It Gets. No, not that one. That's a different lady. That's Helen Hunt. But in that,
Yeah.
or what's the other one with Jack Nicholson? Oh goodness, where he goes to the beach house and he has like a heart attack and he falls in love with the. He went there with the daughter, but he ends up falling in love with the mom, who played by Dan Keaton.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, good.
But yeah, Diane Keaton, I think, embodies that type of cool at any age. Jack Nicholson is like the male version of
Yeah.
that. I think that he is. They kind of embody a certain. There's a sexiness, I guess, or sex appeal to them, but it's not defined by their youthfulness in their body or their physical appearance. It's in their confidence and the way they express themselves in kind of clothing and attitude. And so I think it's really cool. I think that as I'm getting older, I kind of like seeing that, because you don't die when you turn 40, and it's not
right. We're proof of that.
Yeah, and you can still be cool and be stylish and have stories to tell. And I think that especially for women, that at a certain age, their roles become very matronly, and they're playing moms, and they have to be sort of, not fashionable. They're just sort of like wearing mom clothes. And I'm kind of excited to see someone of that age in really cool high fashion clothes, because those are the women that can afford it. Let's be honest, is women, people of that age, not 20-year-olds that don't have the career yet to be able to afford $3,000 dresses,
or they just get them for free to market the designers.
Yeah, that's another whole topic all to itself. But yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that. I know it's not related to Disney, but it is an actress that is within that realm of Disney, because Sarah Jessica Parker's in it. So yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I think that that's kind of exciting to see that roll out soon.
Yeah. I think I'm also excited for, just completely jumping off that, going tangent, is the new Star Wars series called Obi-Wan. Which is going to be where Ewan McGregor reprises his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, really?
And it's going to be, that looks fantastic. So I'm a big Star Wars fan. Although I will say I'm a fan of the movies, any of the movies within that universe, not so much the cartoon versions, which are great and they are fantastic and they tell great stories. But I pay more attention to the live action portions of them. So whether it be
I get
Obi-Wan, another one's coming out with Rosario Dawson playing another Jedi. I forgot her name, but that's going to be another one. They didn't talk about it in this Disney Plus date, but that's another series that's coming out.
Nice.
So there's a lot of cool Star Wars stuff coming out. I'm really excited for that.
Latinos in space. I'm excited. We do exist in the future, or whatever that is. Star Wars is, And Rosario Dawson's amazing. I love her. Ewan McGregor, though, I know you have Apple Plus, right? Because you watched Ted Lasso. There's a documentary on him.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Where he does a motorcycle ride from Argentina, like all the way to LA. Have you watched that?
I have not seen it, but I remember you speaking about that, and it looks fantastic. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it.
You have to watch it. It's so amazing, and you can't not watch that and not be the biggest fan of Ewan McGregor. He is one of the coolest people. Talking about, I think, what last podcast or maybe the one before, where I brought up like actors that you would want to be friends with. He seems like the most genuine, cool dude that you would like want to hang out with. Like totally unpretentious, like down to earth, curious about life and about people, and just such a cool guy, and such an interesting trip for him to travel all of Latin America and on a electric Harley Davidson that they built specifically for him to do that is amazing. And all the little, all the countries that they go to, all the towns and villages, and they take time to kind of speak to all the people. It's amazing. It's a great documentary. Like you have to watch it. Like I know that I've recommended it before, but now that
now you're demanding it.
Now that I was triggered by his Obi-Wan appearance, it's such a good documentary. You have to watch it. I think it's like a little mini series. It's probably like 6 episodes or whatnot, and it's so great. It's amazing.
Okay.
So good.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Right now, we're ending our podcast so Danny can go watch.
Goodbye, everybody. I'm going to go watch Apple TV Plus.
The screen just goes black. All sound ends.
Was there any other shows from the Disney release announcement lineup that you're really looking forward to?
Those were the main ones that I saw. I can't think of anything else that really that stuck out. I know there was a lot that they announced.
There was a lot.
But that's like, yeah, those are the ones that I'm kind of excited about. What about you?
The only other one that really caught my eye, because I was a fan of it when it originally aired, was the X-Men 97 animated.
How could I forget? Yes.
That was like, when I think X-Men cartoon, that's where my mind goes. You know, even if I think X-Men, even more so than the movies from Fox or even the comic books. When I think X-Men, I think this animated series. So the fact that they're starting it off right from where the show ended is so cool. And I'm so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I honestly, as much of a fan of the X-Men that I am, I can't believe I forgot that, because that's. But yeah, I'm so excited about that. I actually have animation cells from that series.
Nice.
Yeah, I got that as a gift from Doug. So I'm excited about that. I hope that what's cool about the animated series is that they can kind of introduce and bring in characters that like the movies don't, because like maybe it's not a big enough character, or it's not feasible with the plot that they're wanting to do out. So like I'm kind of really curious to see what they can do with like introducing some characters that like are beloved characters of the X-Men universe, but maybe I've never seen the light of day when it comes to the movies. So I'm really excited about that. I can't wait. I hope the one I do hope that they kind of maybe improve on the animation style, because the animation did get a little sloppy towards the end of the series. I think they switched from, I think maybe was it Korea to like the Philippines or something like that, and the animation kind of changed a little bit. For people who are X-Men fans, especially the animated series, you have to go online and watch Pride of the X-Men. It was the pilot for the X-Men animated series, and that one is actually my favorite animated series. It's only the pilot, so it's one episode, but it was done by the same people who I believe that did the G.I. Joe cartoons. So the animation is really good. Yeah, nice. The animation is really good. Like the musculature of like the characters is on point. The only thing that's weird is that they gave Wolverine like this really weird accent. But everyone else, like they have Colossus, they have Nightcrawler, they have Kitty Pryde. It's basically Pride of the X-Men is Kitty Pryde being introduced to the X-Men. And they have the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So they have
the one where they're in the mall at the beginning.
No, it's literally it is Kitty Pryde being introduced to the X-Men, and then the evil mutants kind of attacking and then them fighting.
Oh, okay.
So it's like it basically introduces all the characters and it's a pilot, so it's like trying to introduce you to that universe. But they did a really good job with the animation. They sort of have each of the evil mutants face off with like one of the X-Men. So you see Colossus fighting the Blob, like Storm fighting. And so it's like it's really cool, but the animation is really good. And so I bought it on VHS like a long time ago. I found it in a comic book store, and I was like, oh my God, how do I not know that this exists? I want to say that it might even be on YouTube for free. But it's really cool. It's only like 25 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. But it's really cool. I really recommend it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I enjoyed those cartoons. I don't know. My Gambit was always my favorite, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
A few other items that I'm just looking at the list here that really caught my eye are the Beatles Get Back documentary by Peter Jackson. If you're a Beatles fan, this is just going to blow you away. That looks freaking phenomenal. I'm excited about that. Another cartoon series and movie from back in my childhood is getting a reboot. That's Chippendale Rescue Rangers. So that looks interesting with Andy Samberg and John Mulaney doing the voices. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
it says here a live action remake of Pinocchio is coming with Keegan-Michael Key, Tom Hanks, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the cast. So that's some pretty good heavy names there. What was the last one I saw that caught my eye? If you're a fan of Big Hero 6, so the Baymax, it's an original series, is coming out next summer. So I was a big fan of the Big Hero 6 movie myself. And I thought it was cleverly done. I'm sure was it based on another anime series, correct? The movie itself?
I don't know. I think it might have been an original idea.
Oh, interesting. Okay, then it makes it even better.
I don't think it was based off of, but with Disney, you never know. They are infamous for like stealing random, source material from other countries that existed for like decades and redoing it. Yeah. So it's possible.
So that's a series I'm looking forward to. Like I said, I like the movie, so yeah, that's about it for me. I think that I liked.
Yeah. A lot of cool stuff to keep us occupied in the future.
A lot of material for future podcasts. Yes, coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Disney Plus brought it on their Disney Day for 2021. So I'm really looking forward to a lot of those items. And just, coming up next week, or is it next week or the week following, Hawkeye. I'm just really super excited for that. I know it's, I'm a big fan of Jeremy Renner, which is fine. But at this show, I wasn't so much excited for the other ones, for like Loki, WandaVision. Yeah. I watched them, but this one I'm really excited for. I don't know. I just really am.
Interesting. So you're just a fan of his from the Avenger movies?
From the Avenger movies and from some of his other movies. I really like. I know from what you said before, he can be a little off-putting, but it's just, I don't know, something about, I don't know, maybe his style or the way he plays his character is something that I think I would approach it the same way, because it was always, that cool guy who's just like a step ahead. And it's, maybe I like the fact that his Avenger is just a human, he doesn't have any superpowers. He doesn't have, he's a great shot. I don't know if that's a superpower or not, but it's just a training aspect. And it's just a normal dude. He has a family. Yeah. And he wants to protect that family at all costs. And I think that's what really touched me more. So super excited for Hawkeye.
Those are literally all the things that I
hate. Sorry, he's not godlike. Yeah.
I'm like normal, no superheroes, family. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I'm falling asleep.
Yes. Sorry.
To each their own.
Exactly.
But something that is right up my alley that's being released on Thanksgiving Day, I have to talk to you about this, is The House of Gucci with Lady Gaga.
Yes.
So that is I am going to watch it opening night. I'm super excited. The actors that are involved are amazing.
Jared Leto. And
I've
Adam
heard
Driver,
some Al Pacino. Salma Hayek is in it, which I was like surprised I didn't know she was in it. And of course, Lady Gaga, who's like incredibly talented. I've heard some like grumblings about her accent not being accurate for like an Italian person. She's Italian American, so it's like, okay. A lot of people are saying that it sounds more like a Russian accent, but with this type of movie, I'm not going in for historical accuracy. I think this is going to be a new classic in the way that Mommy Dearest was with Faye Dunaway.
Wire hangers.
Yeah, very over the top, very quotable. Like we already have the like father son House of Gucci. Yeah. And so there, I think going in, I think that's what they were kind of aiming for, was like an over the top kind of dramatization of this event that happened in real life. And so that's what I want. I want them to bring the drama, like the fashion, the over the top one-liners, which just in the trailer, I think that they're going to deliver. So I'm super excited. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, you're right.
That's like, I'm more excited for that than I am for like Thanksgiving.
It's funny. I used to work in a movie theater. So, and back then when I was working there, I couldn't really request holidays off. So yeah, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Day, 4th of July, more people than you think will go to the movies on those holidays, whether it's to get away from
Me.
family or with family, or
Yeah.
and it's interesting. So yeah, that's a movie that I'm looking forward to as well.
Yeah. I mean, prior to getting married, that was like my dad and I's tradition is going to like eat and go to the movies with like all the Jewish people on Christmas Day. And I mean, and this is like when I was a kid, because my parents are divorced, and so Christmas Eve was always with my mom, and then my dad was always Christmas Day, and so we would always go and do things that were like not typical, like we would go in the movies and like go have Chinese food, and at first, I mean, typically it was a lot of like non-Christians, which like were like Jewish people and Muslims, more Jewish people in Tucson, and now I think that you see that like a lot of people just kind of now go out because I think that like with seasonal depression and the expectations for the holidays, people have just kind of like raised their hands up and are like, I give up. Like, we're not going to have a perfect Christmas. Like that expectation is so high. Like, let's just go have a nice dinner and go watch a movie and like let the mom not have to worry about dinner or the dad or whoever's cooking. And like, let's just relax and enjoy our time together versus having to have like this perfect, Hallmark moment. And so like you do see a lot of people going out now to like the movies or to go have like Chinese dinner on Christmas, whereas like in the past you didn't see it that much. And so, but it's kind of cool. Like now, I mean, now it's kind of hustle and bustle between like all four of our sides of families that we have to go visit and see. But I've always enjoyed going to the movies on Christmas.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I think
it's a tradition.
That's a cool tradition. I think what you said about the perfect Christmas, and I think to the movie like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, with the Griswolds Christmas, and that's what I pictured when you said that, and how best laid plans often go astray. And it's just we should do a movie, holiday movie episode where we just talk about our favorite holiday movies if you have any.
Yeah, all of mine would. Spoiler alert would be anti-holiday and like Four Christmases with Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn. And I hate Reese Witherspoon, but that's probably the only movie that I watch with her in it. Because the plot is they go on vacation every year and then they get caught from their families and, on the news, and then they have to go spend Christmas with their family.
I've never seen that. Okay. That's what it's about. Okay.
You've never, it's really great. So they avoid their families during the holiday season and their parents are divorced. So it's like
right.
It's basically my life, like 4 different sets of families that they have to go visit the one spouse and then the other spouse, and they each have, anyway. And so they normally go to like the Bahamas, and they happen to get caught on the news getting interviewed or like in passing. So their family start calling like, wait, you said you had to be at work or, whatever the excuse was, and you're going on vacation, you have to come visit us. So then they have to go visit each of their 4 families. And it's hilarious. It's so funny. Because it's so realistic. It's like, that's the reality that most people deal with, is like spreading yourself too thin, like trying to meet these unrealistic expectations of what the holiday has to be. And so I enjoy that. It's fun. But yeah, let's do
we could do an anti-holiday episode. I mean, think like Krampus.
I can work within the parameters of holidays. So I mean, there are other movies that I like that are not bah humbug movies.
Holiday versus anti-holiday, like It's a Wonderful Life versus Krampus. Let's see which one wins. I don't know.
Krampus wins.
Krampus versus the angel in It's a Wonderful Life. Have them do a duel and see who wins.
Do you remember Celebrity Deathmatch on MTV where they did the claymation? I missed that. That was funny.
That was funny. Right on. Well, I think that's all I have for this week, unless you have anything else you want to chime in with.
Well, that's all the news that I think we can fit in for this week on pop culture. So I think we're good.
All right. So in that case, we'll see you guys next week. And if we don't, we'll see you the week after.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.